Thanks for tuning in to this special episode of Movie Geeks United. Do you remember the days when record stores were an essential component of our popular culture? Do you remember the thrill of the hunt and the discovery of that unfamiliar album that might have the power to change your life? Colin Hanks remembers. This compelling and endearing actor, who also happens to be the son of another one of our most beloved performers, has appeared in a slew of popular film and television projects from King Kong and Orange County to the spectacular first season of Fargo and his latest hysterical comic series, Life in Pieces. Colin Hanks can now add director to his impressive resume with the release of All Things Must Pass, The Rise and Fall of Tower Records. This documentary represents a 7-year labor of love for Colin, and the finished project is an equal parts giddy and melancholy exploration of one of the most influential companies in recent American history, and the times and the tunes it inspired during its glorious reign. The film is chock full of irresistible vintage footage and new interviews with those who helped to build the company's legacy, including founder Russell Solomon, and those who most benefited from its diverse inventory of musical flavors, including Sir Elton John and Bruce Springsteen. All Things Must Pass is now open in limited release. I had a chance to speak with Colin about his wonderful film, and here's what he had to say.
I wanted to start out with just discussing a little bit about your premiere. I think it just happened last night, and it looked like a really exciting event. Tell me how you felt about the premiere last night.
Oh, it was awesome. It was a pretty epic evening. We opened up the Tower Records on Sunset. Gave her the proper send off she deserved. Yeah, it was a fun event. The people over, great people over at Gibson, who now have the lease on the Sunset location. They partnered up with us, and we painted her up in the old colors, and we had the Eagles of Death Metal play in the parking lot for a Tower in-store performance, a little nod to the old days, and we had a lot of fun. It was a really, really, really great night.
I mean, it had to have been a satisfying bookend to this journey, because it's been a 7-year journey for you, I believe, in putting this film together. So I would imagine that the Tower Records experience must have been a meaningful one to you as a younger person.
Yeah, a lot of people have been asking me, why I made the movie, and really, I think the answer essentially is that for whatever reason, I was just compelled to do it, and I think that's a result of the fact that I spent so much time as a kid growing up going to Tower Records. I spent a lot of my money there. I didn't have much of a sweet tooth, so I spent the majority of my time listening to music. So, there was some connection was made back then, and I just I guess as I've gotten older, I've wanted to sort of evaluate it a little bit deeper and examine it a little bit deeper.
Yeah, but I know that a lot of times when documentary filmmakers, when they set out to make a new project, they might start out with a curiosity or a notion that there might be a film there. But when did you know for sure that there was a film there?
Well, it constantly changes and it constantly evolves. When I first started throwing the idea around, it was really much more of a, historical sort of look back. It was really all just based on, little facets of Tower's history that I found interesting. As well as some big moments in Tower's history that I don't think a lot of people know about. I don't think people know about its roots in in Russ Solomon's father's drugstore in the 40s. I don't think they know that it was this trailblazing company that was the first American-owned, completely 100% American-owned company, in Japan. All of these big sort of things that I think are sort of special and unique. I think we realized we really started to have a film once we started to understand why Russ was so insistent that we talk to so many other employees. I'm not saying that we set out to make the definitive Russ Solomon, biography, documentary, but he was really adamant that he wasn't the one that he was not the reason why Tower was a success. Now, that's being incredibly humble. He's a large reason that it was so successful, but it was this family, this group that came together that really, truly did something pretty remarkable. And once we sort of tapped into that vein, that family vein, and we saw how all of these people came together and connected and the bonds that they had, that's when we felt that we had a much more complete film than just a sort of look back, number, dates and places type of documentary.
And Tower Records was something like 200 locations, and wherever there was a Tower Records in whatever region, each store was kind of heavily invested in the musical culture of whatever region they served.
Absolutely, yeah. No, there were, a handful of people, obviously, that seem to think of just Tower being this big corporate sort of behemoth, this, name brand that just, stamped its logo in a bunch of different places and had stores all over the world and sold, really expensive CDs. And, I can understand to a degree why people would think that, but the pillars of Tower and the way that Tower started was your sort of conventional mom and pop organization. It was really run by the people inside the store that worked in the store, that opened up the store every day, and they were the ones that would report up to the higher ups. This is what's really working. This is what we're doing here. And so each store had its own vibe. Each store had its own flavor, and not only represented the city that it was in, but sometimes it represented the neighborhood that it was in. So your store on the Upper West Side of New York, up right by Lincoln Center, well, they had a huge classical department, whereas the one down on 4th and Broadway in New York, that's right by NYU, so it's going to be, have a little bit of a different flair. Each store really was kind of like its own independent record store. It just happened to have the same name as about 192 other stores. But they had their own art departments, so each one looks different. Each one had different kinds of music there. It was really all about the music anyways to begin with. So each store was really sort of unique and had its own flavor.
Yeah. And it speaks to, there's a definite, the melancholy of nostalgia that runs through the film. And what we've lost with the disintegration of Tower Records that kind of just even transcends the stores themselves. And it speaks to a changing music industry, but do you think it's also something valuable that we've lost in just being able to kind of go out and rub shoulders and with other people and learn new things? It seems like we're more connected than ever with technology, and at the same time, we're more disconnected than ever in a big way.
Well, no. Really, what I think, one of the things about Tower that was incredibly unique and, in my opinion, revolutionary was it was a retail operation that didn't care if you actually bought anything. You could walk into the store, you could spend 5 hours in the store and not buy anything, and people wouldn't bug you for it. Think about that for a second. That not a lot of businesses operate that way at all, And really, more than anything else, Tower was a place to hang out, a place to meet up, whether you're going to meet up before you went out to go someplace else or maybe something else was dying down. So, why don't we go kill some time at Tower Records? It was a place to hang out. It was a social house, really. It was a public house, if you will. And
Yeah.
that element is obviously not present as in that same way. You know, I'm a big believer in saying that record stores are not dead. They're not. They still exist. There's one in your town wherever you are. And that vibe still exists. That spirit is still around. But Tower, that was something that it was really known for, as well as having a very deep inventory and a deep catalogs. So, you know, you could spend a few hours there and not get bored. You know, you didn't have to bring something else. You know, you didn't have to, you know, nowadays, really, I think the only equivalent is like a Starbucks. You know, you go and you buy a coffee, but then you sit and then you read the paper, you read the book, maybe you bring your laptop, you do some work. That's the public house. That's the place to hang out. Well, that's what Tower Records was. The difference is that you were going through bins, looking at stuff and having conversations about what you were listening to. Oh, what's this? Oh, you're buying that? Oh, well, have you heard of this artist? Because if you like that artist, you're probably going to like too. Follow me. Let me show you some stuff. So there was a communal element to it all.
And I was thinking, too, as I was watching the film, that this, you know, this sort of documentary, this kind of structure, demands that you're not only a filmmaker, but also an archaeologist of sorts. And so I was curious the process by which you kind of received and uncovered this vintage footage that you have in the film.
Well, it definitely was part of the journey for sure. You sort of felt like treasure hunters, without a doubt. And that was both the you know, one of the great parts of the journey, but then also one of the headaches as well. You know, you realize prior to say 1988, I mean, people didn't really bring cameras to work unless it was someone's birthday. So, you know, we have an abundance of footage and pictures from, you know, post 1988, but then each decade, you know, as you go, the farther you go back in time, you get less and less footage. Mm-hmm. So by the time we were, you know, when we were in the 40s, we had maybe 5 pictures. But you get really excited when you found something. You know, that there would always be that one thing where, you know, depending on what it was, you'd always be looking for those nuggets, and that's actually a really fun element of it all. You know, because again, even just seeing pictures of the store, you get excited. Because you remembered what, you know, it was a little bit of your past, you know, coming back.
And when I would imagine that, I think I saw a picture of him last night, that Russ attended, you know, the founder of Tower, attended the premiere last night. Did this feel like kind of a full circle experience for them? I mean, what has this project meant to him, do you think?
Oh yeah, no, he's just tickled by the whole thing. He really is. You know, I think deep down, he's such a humble guy that it still sort of astonishes him just how much Tower meant to so many people. He never tires of hearing people's Tower stories, and he never tires about hearing what it meant to them. And I think it's just because he's just fascinated, just from an observational point of view, that he was able to be a part of something like that. And so it's not so much about what he did, but what everyone around him was able to do, and what they were able to do together. I mean, he pretty much says that, you know, in the film. And so I think for us, we're incredibly happy that he, you know, believed in us and gave us the shot. In a strange way, we kind of feel like Tower Records employees, because we had this super crazy idea. He pretty much told us at that first meeting, he says, "I think you guys are crazy. There's probably not much money in it, but yeah, sure, let's do it." Which was kind of how he made all of his decisions.